Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the International Webinar Series on Holistic Health, Well-being and Sustainable Development 2022-2023, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 75 years of independence, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030 as part of awareness and campaigns, and India's G20 presidency. And also this week is commemorated as World Health Month 2023 with the theme Health for All. And this week is also commemorated as Psychology Week in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Art, Sciences and Wellbeing. So before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
Kurutvam kalyanam arogyam dhanasampadah Shubham kurutvam kalyanam arogyam dhanasampadah Shatru buddhi vinashaya Deepajyotirnamostute Deepajyotirnamostute Shubham kurutvam kalyanam arogyam dhanasampadah Shubham kurutvam kalyanam arogyam dhanasampadah.
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's commemorations. Today is commemorated as World Intellectual Property Day. Every year on April 26th, it was established by the World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO in short, in 2000, to raise awareness about patents, copyrights, and trademarks, and how these laws impact our daily life, and also helps us to celebrate talent and creativity, which makes us able to recognize the contributions that creators and inventors make to our world, and also help foster the development of societies and cultures, and would agree that innovation is what keeps us moving towards a new and more advanced future. So the establishment of World Intellectual Property Day was initiated by the Director General of the National Algerian Institute for Industrial Property, in short known as INAPI, INAPI. The day creates awareness of copyright, trademarks, and patents. These are laws and registrations that protect the original work of creators and innovators. These include writers, artists, inventors, and brands that help to make sure that creators have the right to own their work. Intellectual property regulations help to encourage more development. It is also important to have intellectual property regulations to prevent the theft of original work, promoting the notion that creators should have full ownership of their inventions. Every year, the US loses about $225 billion to $600 billion to intellectual property theft. These regulations help protect the creators and the country from losing financially. Many events are held around the world to mark the event. It is observed in different ways as people have various intellectual properties that matter to them. These events display all sorts of original work that inspires the next generation to think and create. Creativity is the force that leads to the modernization and development of societies. Innovation simply make our lives easier and more comfortable. The Chinese delegation to the World Intellectual Property Organization adopts World Intellectual Property Day in 1999, and the General Assembly of WIPO approves the declaration of World Intellectual Property Day in 1999, and the first World Intellectual Property Day is held and observed in 2000. So other countries around the world took part in observing the holiday since 2000. So there are 4 types of intellectual properties: patents, trade secrets, trademarks, and copyrights. And the originator or the creator of a work owns the copyright to what they create. However, it belongs to the employer if the work was created under an employer-employee agreement. The only way to purchase intellectual property is through legal avenues where all necessary paperwork is produced. So everyone has creativity in them. So use this day as an opportunity to bring some of your ideas to life. Take some time to enjoy a piece of art. Art can be in any form, like a book, movie, or song. If a scent or smell is associated with a particular product or invention, it can be trademarked. Facts, methods, and ideas cannot be protected by copyrights. And intellectual property intensive industries provide about 38.2% of the US GDP. And it can cost about $3 million to defend a patent lawsuit. And patent lawsuits are expensive. There are many cases. There are about 12,000 intellectual property infringement cases filed yearly. So this day brings attention to copyright issues. Widespread knowledge of these issues help faster solutions. Intellectual property regulations make it more difficult for people to cheat creators. This helps protect their work. The intellectual property regulations have helped give creators much needed support. This encourages more people to be innovative. Today is also commemorated as World Stationery Day, which is observed every last Wednesday of April. This year, it falls on 26th and is a day to celebrate all stationery, which includes pens, pencils, papers, staplers, erasers, highlighters, markers, postcards, crayons, adhesive tape, and all kinds of stationery. Since prehistoric times, humans have made use of wide variety of tools and implements to write letters, pass across messages, or preserve information. Today, stationery still plays a major role in our society despite the advancement in technology. The word stationery is derived from the medieval Latin word stationaris, meaning unmoved or permanent. According to Wikipedia, stationery refers to commercially manufactured writing materials, including cut paper, envelopes, writing implements, continuous from paper, and other office supplies. Stationery could mean special paper used for writing letters. According to several historians, paper was invented by a Chinese eunuch named Cai Lun around the year 121 AD. He apparently did this by mixing the inner bark of mulberry tree with bamboo fibers. Prior to that, ancient records were written on either bamboo, which was quite heavy, or silk, which was costly. Also, ancient Egyptians would fashion papyrus plants into solid dried sheets. Pens can also be traced back to ancient times. In 1300 BC, metal styluses were used to write on wax tablets by Romans. These iron instruments were shaped like pencils, sharpened to point at one end while being flat and circular at the other end. During the same period, Asian scribes made use of bronze stylus. Years later, Egyptians used thick bamboos, calamus reeds. The famed quill pen didn't make an appearance until the 6th century in Seville, Spain. Made with either swan feathers or goose feathers, the quill pen lasted for centuries and came into use all over the world. The 19th century saw the invention of ballpoint pens, which immediately phased out quill pens. In the 21st century, pen and paper are becoming less popular due to advancement of technology. Online learning with the use of mobile devices has recently revolutionized the education system. Texting and email communications has phased out the old art of the letter writing. Even personal notes are now shared via mobile applications. Yet, in all this, old-fashioned stationery has not completely died out, as it still proves useful in the world. So, even before that, India were using writing technology and various writing tools, implements, like since Stone Age, we use stones to write, and on the stones which were made as tablets or even on the rocks. And later on, we used even wood and metal, and also, trees, palm leaves, and various other materials for storing. Basically, our tradition, which is ancient in the world, we used oral tradition to transfer and transmit traditional knowledge system and also impart education from time to time. So our emphasis was more on, memory. That's how, still even today, we are very good in memorizing. And across the world, Indians are, in prominent positions, even in NASA and other various research organizations. You see, even in any profession which requires high caliber and high skills and high memory, Indians always stand apart from others, because that is only because of the kind of, genes that were transmitted and the kind of efforts that were put earlier. Instead of storing somewhere, we used to store that information within ourselves, in our minds and memories. So that's the greatest advantage we have given to the world. And that's how, we are highest intellectuals. But due to modern technologies and methods, we have become so lazy, and also we lost this practice. So now we can't hardly remember at least 10 mobile numbers which are saved in our mobile. Now, because there is no need to remember them, and it is saved in a mobile. And now today we can see even some people don't remember their family members' mobiles. They say it's saved in the mobile. So I was never, had the opportunity to remember. So that's how the practices, ancient cultures and traditions, when we lose them, we also lose a lot of our potentials. So this day is also one such day where we can reiterate the importance of traditional knowledge systems. So when we look at the pencil lead is usually made of graphite powder mixed with clay binder, which is then fired into a kiln. So pencils were first invented during 1700s, and pen ink is primarily made up of dye or pigment particles along with additives such as water, polymers, linseed oil, and so on. Even earlier days in India, we have used so many flowers and fruits and other ingredients from which we made different colors naturally, which are organic, and we used various liquids like oil and as well as water, which were used as ink. And in our world of phones, laptops, and gadgets, writing things down with pen and paper is almost becoming a lost art. And we see even today, many students are struggling when coming to writing exams because most of the things are gone online, and people are using more and more digital gadgets. And we see, even in exam halls, people are struggling, with their fingers and with their pens and papers. So this is what, due to lack of practice, it's only because lack of practice, and more we are using devices instead of typing. Instead of writing, we are using typing or using voice to record messages, or even for typing also dictating, we are using voice. So that is, preventing the practice, as it is serving an alternative, as we are using alternative methods. So it is becoming a lost art, and the intentional in the doing things the traditional way, be it making to-do list or sending someone a nice handwritten note, so that we preserve our art. And thinking of the perfect present for the friend or family member. So give something in writing instead of printing out. Not everyone knows the World Stationery Day exists. In fact, many of the commemorations we are doing is only, to reiterate the importance of each and every aspect, like, the great concept that our ancient sages, our elders gave us is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam concept, where each and everything is given equally important. All rights are equally important, whether it may be human beings or whether it may be plants or animals or birds or insects. All have equal rights and all have equal opportunity to utilize the resources. But unfortunately, we human beings have encroached into their privacy. We were encroached into their habitats and, killing them and poaching them, hunting them and destroying them, their habitats. And we are in serious violation of their rights and even the basic rights of right to life. So all these are very much important in this context, where, to make a lot of pencils and this ink, we are destroying a lot of wood is required, and again we are destroying a lot of trees, and paper is required. So a lot of trees are being cut. So all these are indirectly causing a hazard, a risk for the environment, and deforestation. So of course, but as things are changing, and now because we have alternative ways, as now most of the exams are also going online. So maybe we can also give away with this paper pencil or paper pen examinations in the year end as well. So we can go online completely, so that we can save a lot of paper also, paper, pens, but still this writing has to be promoted. But instead of, this formal writing and all, we can use art forms where, a kind of Writing is also practiced along with art forms, which will also foster and improve gross motor and also fine motor skills and eye-hand coordination and so on. So every year, over 300 million tons of paper are produced around the world, and the average pencil can draw a line 35 miles long. So, how much each and more plastic also is generated waste. How many refills nowadays most of them, not everyone, but most of them are using ballpoint pen or refills. And every time there are single-use pens where we use and discard. But again, how much plastic waste we are generating. So it is always best to use fountain pens, that is ink pens, where at least we can save a lot of wastage by disposing these single-use pens and refills. At least a good ink pen will, if maintained well, that can also last for years together. And there is, not much wastage, because ink can be made with edible and natural organic materials. And also the only thing, if it is very well maintained, so hardly nibs have to be replaced, even with platinum and gold, silver nibs, and they quite last longer. So maybe by shifting to sustainable products, we can also save a lot of our planet from lots of pollution and wastage. Though, as already mentioned, according to several studies conducted by scientists and various researchers, it has proven that writing with pen and paper aids focus and has positive effects of cognitive process. This means the simple act of writing things by hand is much more beneficial to us than typing on a keyboard. So we will move on with other commemorations today. We have today commemorating a disaster, which is International Chernobyl Disaster Remembrance Day. And it is a day that forever remembers the tragic day that Chernobyl nuclear power plant, officially named the Vladimir Lenin nuclear power plant, experienced a malfunction during a systems test. The malfunction led to release of massive amounts of radioactive material into the surrounding environment. As a result, parts of Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus were left unsafe, and a 30-kilometer radius around the plant, the exclusion zone, uninhabitable. So this day, April 26th, is a day that forces us to remember what happened and consider the implications of nuclear energy and the risks involved. Nuclear energy is a fairly recent achievement for the human race. It boasts a powerful array of unique benefits that make it an extremely desirable material form and which we can draw power. However, the great power to transform the energy situation in the world, there are major risks that need to be considered too. Much of what we know about nuclear energy is related squarely to its destructive power and nuclear bombs. However, once the development and perfection of nuclear weaponry were well on their way, from about 1945, attention began to shift towards its uses in the energy field. In 1951, on December 20, EBR-1 became the first nuclear power plant that could produce usable electricity through atomic fusion, a minute power generation in comparison to the nuclear power plants where we experience today. But for the first of its kind, nuclear energy is the beginning and was not widely criticized and awareness was limited. However, in 1970s and 1980s, staunch opposition rose against the construction and spread of nuclear plants. So construction on the Valdemar Len nuclear power plant ended in 1977. However, the entire built project was riddled with failures, defective building materials, and inadequate machinery to get the job done correctly and on par with the international safety standards. According to Prime Minister of the USSR, Nikolai Ryzhkov, the disaster was inevitable. Although the immediate destructive force of nuclear bomb far outweighs that of a nuclear plant meltdown, this is simply due to the controls in place that attempt to negate the power. However, the environmental impact that a compromised nuclear power plant can have on its surroundings is destructive and almost irreversible. So today is the day that we spread awareness about the potentially catastrophic danger that goes with the nuclear power. So the University of Chicago, under Nobel Prize winner Enrico Fermi, conducts the first recorded successful and controlled nuclear reaction in 1942. German scientists discovered the powerful release of energy through nuclear fission. In 1946, the atom. The Russian government cleans up the disaster and sets up an exclusion zone. In 1986, the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant in Fukushima, Japan, is hit by both an earthquake and tsunami, destabilizing the power supply and causing an environmental disaster as the reactors fail. In 2011, Japanese nuclear meltdown. So even today, there are special restrictions in Chernobyl. So, but still, probably there are guided tours of Chernobyl. The government of Ukraine opened the site to visitors under specific controls in 2011. So we might get a doubt now after this incident or disaster. Are nuclear power plants safe? Yes, just as the car is safe, as a bike is safe, as a system is safe, as mobile is safe. But many factors are considered and strict protocols are in place to manage the day-to-day running of a nuclear power plant. However, if things do go wrong, it is extremely unsafe. Definitely, there are alternatives, and this is one of the main contributions to the debate. There are so many clean alternatives like solar, wind, and hydro, just to name a few. As a global citizen, take some initiative and learn about risks and benefits surrounding nuclear energy, and it may benefit you or all of us. Nuclear disasters leave behind long-lasting environmental damage. Help the process and donate to a worthy cause. Locally, you can get involved in what your environment or government is doing about sustainable clean energy. Every voice matters. And the last reactor was only shut down in 2000 for good, that is Chernobyl reactor. And more than 50% of America's clean energy is produced by nuclear power. So we still rely on it. And nuclear energy is one of the cleanest sources of power with a minimal carbon footprint. When compared to other thermal power generation and other power generations, So it can be good for the environment if it is maintained well. In the US, nuclear power plants produced 790 billion kilowatt hours of electricity in 2020. And for the first time, more electricity than coal-fired power plants. And so it produces a lot of electricity. Even in India, where there is a huge, most of the power is generated through coal, that is thermal power generation. So for country like us, it would be more appropriate. We can house more nuclear power generation systems with all the precautions taken, which can be a great boon for a nation like us, which has a huge demand for power, and also it reduces the cost of production. So ultimately, it is leading to less price for the consumers. And all the used nuclear fuel produced in the history of USA nuclear power system would only make it to 10-yard line on a football field. So it doesn't produce much waste. Only thing is we need to be very careful in design and maintenance, and we should ensure that there is no radiation leaks and danger. And nuclear power is part of society now, and everyone living in the country with an established nuclear power system should be aware of the risks. Knowing the risk may save your life. Even for that matter, mobile is also risk. We have seen many mobiles which blasted and many people got injured. So for that matter, any devices can be, risky, but with the right quality and right usage, these risks can be minimized or prevented completely, to at least statistical. So when society simply accepts the governments are doing things rather than interrogate the validity of their actions or any organizations, we all are in trouble. So these days asking about why and demanding real answers. We see a lot of projects coming up if citizens are not conscious, it doesn't mean we have to go against. See, we can always get our queries clarified, and so that increases the vigilance, so that the projects are made with good quality and taken care very well. So what happened in Chernobyl is not an isolated incident, because there have been several high-profile nuclear power plant failures. So today because this incident happened, so we are discussing it. But even there are many such disasters that happen. So we need to learn, and this day reminds us how bad those failures can be. And today we have one more interesting commemoration, and our furry friends and our disabled population. It is International Guide Dog Day. Guide dogs provide opportunities for social interaction and greater independence for legally blind adults. So International Guide Dog Day pays tribute to the dogs who do this impressive work. And references to the guide dogs date back to at least 16th century, so far for hundreds of years service that these faithful companions have provided. So it's a day to say thank you on April 26th, or the last Wednesday in April. So this day was founded by Guide Dogs of America, founded over 70 years ago, who sponsors this event in US. So the first reference of guide dogs can be found, though dogs have been domesticated since long and also have been trained for various purposes, but in the West, nursery rhyme A is the archer, includes the line B was a blind and man led by a dog, is the first reference that was made in 1500s. And guide dogs helped German soldiers following World War I, and dogs and veterans since 1920s. So Dorothy Harrison, Azuts, and Maurice Frank started the Seeing Eye in Tennis. The first US dog training school opened in 1929. And the ADA established legal protections for those using dogs as a service animals. So Americans with Disabilities Act regulations were published in 2010. So for one thing, guide dogs recognize whether or not a command would put their handler in danger. So learn to obey such instructions. That's not an easy thing to teach. Even we human beings, after knowing so much, we don't listen, we don't adhere to the instructions. So, but again, see that poor animal and that intelligent animal that obeys, and it takes care, not only takes care of himself or herself, but also takes care of the person, because the person is blind. And several organizations throughout the world train guide dogs and match them with the people. Like other non-profits, they could benefit your time and or donations. So not all dogs who begin training for this task make it all the way. Like we also, not everyone who studies get the job, or who, gets trained in, get selected and put on job. So those who don't require a forever home, note there's a long waiting list for these dogs. So prepare application early. So if you are looking for a dog, then these kind of who didn't make, they can be a good pets for you. Otherwise also, we have a lot of litter around our communities. You can adopt one and take care of one. And when coming to guide dogs, Labradors are the number one. That's because of their short coat, gentle temperament, and willingness to help and overall health aspects. So they are the most, and the top used breeds for guide dogs. And there are so many benefits associated with that. Research shows that guide dogs offer increasing mobility, boosts a person's confidence, provide companionship, and can even lead to increased social interaction. Common guide dog names include, like in the Western context, they use Max, Charlie, Buddy for males, and Bella, Lucy, Daisy for females in, US. And guide dogs are very smart. They can keep their handlers from bumping into objects and harming themselves by determining an obstacle size and shape. And you shouldn't feed or pet a guide dog without permission, because you might be distracting the dog and you can put the dog handler into risk. And it also distracts the guide dog's attention and concentration. And it could also distract the animal when it is attempting to perform an important work. So never try to mess up with a guide dog. It can also be an hazardous to both the dog and as well as the poor blind person. So more than 140 people in the United States alone are blind or suffer from some sort of vision impairment. Properly trained guide dogs keep them remain safe and independent by helping them navigate everyday obstacles. Guide dog training can be expensive and time-consuming process. It can take up to 2 years and $25,000 to fully train a single service dog. In addition to giving folks an opportunity to recognize the work of guide dogs themselves, International Guide Dog Day lets us offer a tip of the cap to the dedicated men and women who train them. So these are in US, and dogs are called man's best friend for a reason. People all over the world cherish their beloved canine companions, whether they are specially trained as service animals or not. Today is also commemorated as Burlesque Day. It is a tribute to a unique art form, and burlesque dancing shows have dramatic and musical performances by women that is both comedic and provocative. And it is devoted to the celebration and elevation of burlesque and provides a way of boosting the art form global visibility. For those who are not aware of burlesque, it is a form of entertainment that is similar to a cabaret. It was extremely popular during the early part of the 20th century. It is glamorous, satirical, raunchy, and irreverent performance that would consist of strippers, comedians, and a master of ceremonies. So basically, it is a showgirl, author, and mental health ambassador, Safira, who created this World Burlesque Day in 2022 as a way of bringing together people who love everything to do with burlesque. She wanted this day to serve as a platform for people to share their stories, and doing so, encourage others to find their own sense of style and freedom through burlesque. Safira was a showgirl since 2004 and claims that burlesque has helped her to overcome mental health problems and believes that it can give confidence to others who are struggling too. There are different types of burlesque. Classical burlesque performances are more glamorous, elegant, and poised. According to burlesque artists, the tease is more important than strip. And these are generally performed on smaller stages, making for a more intimate setting and being closer to the audience, which means audience will have a better view of the costumes. And these shows feature hundreds of performers who serve thousands of audience, and it's a huge industry. And these burlesque shows have different titles and more names than any other show. It has its own lingo. And it is body positive. Burlesque is open to all body types, and the new form of burlesque called neo-burlesque is turning into a third wave of feminism. Feminists worldwide are embracing neo-burlesque as it spreads body positive. And it is also a fun. So today is also commemorated as National Artificial Intelligence Day. So this National AI Day is celebrated on April 26. So The Japanese and Chinese word AI means adoration, affection, or love, and even also used as no artificial intelligence as well. But both are there. The word is used almost exclusively as a female name in Japan, but boys are sometimes given it in Chinese too. Notable figures such as Ai Weiwei, Ei Sugimiya, Ei Kotuska share this name, and dozens of video games, cartoons, and fantasy characters with the name appear across Japanese and Chinese media. And it's pronounced similar to the word I in both cultures, but the kanji Japanese inscriptions differ from the Hanzi Chinese characters. So Ai Weiwei is a Chinese activist and artist known in the East and West for his creative works. Because he is known for being politically outspoken and the divisive nature of his art, Weiwei is persecuted by repressive government authorities. In 2005, he began using social media as a tool for school commentary. In 2009, his blog website was shut down. He moved to Twitter and then continued online journaling from there, much to the dismay of the Chinese government. Today is also National Book Mobile Day in US. During National Library Week this week, book mobiles are mobile libraries that help transport books from one local community to another. These are traveling vehicles that have books inside. They look like a traveling library. Book mobiles help making reading more accessible to people who usually don't get access to the bigger public libraries. It also encourages people to donate their own books to the cause. And this celebrates the book mobile service that is brought to numerous communities. The occasion also celebrates the work and dedication of the many people involved, such as library professionals, drivers, donors, and so on. In 2010, National Book Mobile Day was established and began to be celebrated as part of the National Library Week. This was done to show gratitude to all the library transport services provided in various communities around the United States. The American Library Association, ALA, and libraries across the country sponsor this event. Today is also National Dissertation Day. Serves as an annual reminder for the students to get back on track and complete their dissertation. Each year in the US, only 50% of the students who enroll in the doctoral programs actually end their doctoral degrees. So that means 50,000 students are dropping out of doctoral programs because they are unable to finish their dissertations. On the flip side, individuals having doctoral degrees earn at least 20,000 more than per year than those with their master's degree. So a good return on investment if you are looking for a doctoral program. So Dr. Russell Strickland, founder and CEO of Dissertation Done, initiated the idea of National Dissertation Day to highlight the importance of completing your dissertation on time. Dr. Strickland identified the mercenary approach to completing one's dissertation by highlighting the fact that each year the dissertation process costs students $40,000 and more, and that delaying it for 2 or 3 or more years is irrational. There are multiple research-based doctoral degrees awarded in different disciplines, but what all of these degree programs have in common is a doctoral dissertation. Dissertations, or alternatively theses, have been an integral part of the doctoral program since ancient times. The term thesis comes from the Greek, meaning something put forth. Dissertation comes from the Latin dissertatio, meaning discussion, Aristotle was the first one to define the term thesis as a supposition or a statement that may or may not be true, depending on the evidence or the proof. The first doctoral degree is awarded in Paris in the mid-12th century in the West, and the doctorate of philosophy is developed in Germany in the 17th century in 1652. The modern research degree is first awarded in the US at Yale University in 1861 in the West, and the first UK PhD is issued by the University of Oxford in 1920 in the West. So the biggest difference between a thesis and a dissertation is the purpose. A thesis is usually required to obtain a master's degree, and it tests a student's understanding of the field of a study. A dissertation is usually done by a doctorate student and focuses on original research. It usually takes a typical doctoral student at least 2 or 3 years to complete their dissertation. However, it varies greatly based on the researcher. An undergraduate dissertation is typically 8,000 to 15,000 words. A master's dissertation is typically 12,000 to 15,000 words. A PhD thesis is typically book length 70,000 to 1 lakh words. Of course, it also varies. If you are a doctoral student, then National Dissertation Day is a perfect opportunity to eliminate the bad habit of procrastinating and maintain your focus. On this day, take the pledge to finally get the dissertation done. You get a support and motivation from the online community. If you know a struggling doctoral student, give them motivation and push the need to develop a mindful attitude toward their dissertation so that they can graduate and make an impact in the world as soon as possible. So less than 1% of the population attains a PhD because of the commitment. And the term philosophy in Doctor of Philosophy, PhD, means love of wisdom from the original Greek word philosophia. Approximately 50% of those who earn a traditional PhD obtain faculty positions. Not all subjects have a PhD degree program. Honorary doctorates degrees are granted to individuals by some universities to formally recognize and honor them for their contributions to the field. Today is National Help a Horse Day in US. Horses hold a high status in United States, and this day endeavors to encourage to come together and safeguard these beloved animals from any neglect. Back in 2013, the American Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals launched an equine campaign in the form of Help a Horse Day to create awareness and promote protection of neglected and abused horses across the country. So this National Help a Horse Day has more than one purpose. The day also serves as National Day of Acknowledgement for equine organizations to highlight the work they do to save at-risk horses. Moreover, it even showcases how people can join them to make a difference in the equine community. So thousands of horses across the country are abandoned and face poor care. Although rescues and shelters work round the clock to take care of them, these organizations still need adequate support to sustain their efforts. Thus, ever since the launch of National Help a Horse Day, many programs have been and continue to be conceptualized to build a better life for horses. According to British Museum blog, the adoption of a horse was one of the single most important discoveries for early human societies. Horses were used in the war in hunting as a means of transport. They were animals of high prestige and importance and are widely represented in ancient art, often with great insight and empathy. The sound that a horse makes is called neighing. When the horse neighs happily, it is sometimes a greeting to other horses. Other words for the noise a housemates or Winnie or Bray. So you can adopt or foster a horse or donate to a sanctuary or equine care charity and create awareness about this day. Today is also commemorated as National Kids and Pets Day in the US and is a better way to honor Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Month by celebrating National Kids and Pets Day on April 26th this year or each year, born out of a need to raise awareness about picking the right pet for children. This day also celebrates the bond pets and children share and highlight safety tips where our pets and children are concerned. Apart from little kids, animals show us the purest form of love. So this day was formed to increase awareness about the bond between our little ones and our pets and the importance of choosing the right pet for our children at right time. Former emergency medical technician, EMT Colleen Page, had realized her calling and passion for animals at a early age. She began to train dogs at the Los Angeles National Institute of Dog Training, then went on to become an animal behaviorist, interior designer, writer, photographer, and author. She also contributes to the New York Times, Huffington Post, the Wall Street Journal, Total Health, People, Pets, and many more magazines. Widely known as a celebrity pet and family lifestyle expert, this mom is inspiring and philanthropic force behind multiple pet-friendly days, including National Kids and Pets Day, National Dog Day, National Cat Day, National Puppy Day, National Pet Day, National Wildlife Day, National Beach Day, and many more. So Colleen created this particular day, the National Kids and Pets Day, to help enhance the bond between children and animals and emphasize the safety aspect of putting children and pets together while also raising awareness about the plight of animals at shelters. Today is also commemorated as National No Makeup Day in US by women all over the world, and also women are encouraged to go barefaced for one day to appreciate their natural beauty. Celebrities like such as Cindy Crawford, Lady Gaga, and Alicia Keys have all endorsed the no makeup trend, with the latest stating that she doesn't want to hide anymore and has been makeup free since 2016. Makeup means different things for different people. Some people use it to hide their fears, express themselves, or simply feel more put together and confident in public. This day is also commemorated as National Static Cling Day. Is dedicated to recognizing the phenomenon of static cling, its effects, and its control. Static cling is defined as a propensity or tendency of light in terms of weight objects to stick or cling to the other objects as a result of static electricity. And it is most commonly found in clothing, but occurs with other items as well, such as dust to plastic items, combs to hair, skin to leather, and so on. What typically occurs during the static cling is a buildup of stray electrons and through positive and negative. The actual cling occurs where and when two oppositely charged objects come in contact with each other. Static cling occurs as a reaction between these objects that result from the effects of static electricity, and static electricity itself is a disproportion of electrical changes within a material on surface of that material. The Leyden jar, a device for storing static electricity, was accidentally discovered by Peter van Musschenbroek, a Dutch physicist at the University of Leiden. It was in the earliest form a glass vial, usually filled with partly with water, and the opening of which was sealed by a cork, and with a wire dipping into the water to charge the jar. The exposed end of the wire was brought into contact with a friction device that produced static electricity, and in its present form, both the inner and other surfaces of an insulating jar are today is also commemorated as Richter Scale Day in US. It is the very first instrument used to measure earthquakes, and today is the birthday of the founder, Richard Scale. So while Richard was born on a farm in Ohio and moved to Los Angeles, and his mother when he was a teenager, he attended the University of Southern California, going on to study physics, Stanford University at the Columbia. The Richter scale became a universal standard for the measurement of earthquakes, while other scales have been developed. Since then, none of them have achieved the popularity of the Richter scale. There is no fault long enough to generate an earthquake of this magnitude, and if there was, it would extend around the most of the planet. And this explains why earthquakes of such a large magnitude usually cannot happen, which is 10 on Richter scale. So the Richter scale measures earthquake from 0 to 10 and increases in the power of 10 between each number. So an earthquake registering 2 on the Richter scale is 10 times stronger than an earthquake registering. And subsequently, an earthquake registering at 3 on the scale is 10 by 10 times stronger than the measuring at 1 on the scale, and so on. So the Richter scale works best for earthquakes occurring in South California, Southern California, and two with a boundary of about 370 miles of sensitive seismometers. The scale was replaced in 1970s by the moment magnitude scale, which captures all the different seismic waves from an earthquake, giving it a better idea of shaking and possible damage. Since 1900, the world has or had one major earthquake, in Chile labeled the Great Chilean Earthquake or 1960 Valdivia earthquake. Some earthquakes are rarely felt by humans. Earthquakes lower than 2.5 on the Richter scale, called micro-earthquakes, are rarely felt by humans. The movement of tectonic plates, which are large sections of a crust, has formed mountain ranges like Himalayas and Andes. Only then they are called moonquakes and usually have smaller magnitudes than earthquakes. So rough estimates put earthquake occurrences at about 5 lakh detectable ones each year around the world. Today is also commemorated as Secretary's Day to honor the hard work of secretaries who have been long underappreciated. And this day has developed many names over the years, such as Admin Day, and it occurs on Administrative Professionals Week. It recognizes secretary and all the hard work they perform. There are many ways to celebrate and honor your secretary, but the most important one is simply saying thank you. Secretary jobs are seen as less important, though they are vital and help other business to accomplish their jobs. Today is also commemorated as Stop Food Waste Day to teach people ways to reduce food wastage, and also aims to raise awareness of this shocking statistic. While so many on earth go hungry, the issue of food waste is only growing. Humans, particularly in America, weren't always responsible for the massive amounts of wasted food and food products centuries ago. Before Europeans migrated and settled in the land occupied by Native Americans, food wastage was an unknown concept. Today is also commemorated as Administrative Professionals Day, which is celebrated on Wednesday again in the last week. Today is also commemorated as Alien Day to appreciate science fiction, but also to educate people about it. This day provides scene fiction lovers with the opportunity to partake in every sci-fi. It is spiced up by organizing sci-fi competitions for interested persons to win alien collectible and wearable prizes. And did you know that the Blade Runner, rated by critics as most influential sci-fi movie ever, was directed by Ridley Scott, and Ridley as directed to the Today is also commemorated as Denim Day in US, as we stand in solidarity with sexual assault survivors and victims. Today is also commemorated as Get Organized Day. It is dedicated to cleaning up and decluttering your homes and offices. And today is also again Australian Day, celebrated every year on April 26. Idea is simple: share a hug with Australian friend. A hug is a physical display of affection. It has been proven to have a positive psychological effect on both parties, and it is easy way to share feelings of love, comfort, and happiness. A hug from a loved or even stranger can be significantly enhance a person's mood. Nothing communicates affection and today is also commemorated as National Garage Day. It is an essential part of every household. It evolved to become more than a garage, just a storage space. This practical space provides people the chance to practice their hobbies, make do-it-yourself projects, store your collectibles, or even entertain guests. So with this, we shall end the commemorations for the day. Thank you everyone for joining us. Quickly fill the feedback form. And also, we have shared registration form in the chat box. After filling up the feedback form, you can register. Not registered, if you have any queries, you can put in chat box. Thank you everyone for joining us. See you all tomorrow at the same time. From tomorrow, we will be having we will not be having this webinar series. Instead of that, we'll be having Psychology International Conference. So you can find registration links on the website. Dear friends, quickly fill up the feedback form, the registration link for today's webinar. In fact, the registration link is same every day. You need to register because every day is a different day. It is mandatory. So thank you everyone for joining us. See you all tomorrow for the conference at 5 o'clock with the same link. Take care. Good night. Dear friends, quickly fill up the feedback form. We are about to close in the next few minutes. Thank you, everyone. Those who would like to register as a presenter for tomorrow's from next 1 week international conference on psychology, they can visit our website, and or we have also shared in various groups, even Facebook group, Google group. You can visit and you can register yourself. And if you'd like to present, you can share your details to the email as specified in the registration form. You can copy that format and paste in your mail and type your details and share it to email it. So thank you, everyone. Take care. Good night.